The clock on the wall showed 9:47 p.m., and Maya was still staring at her computer screen. Her eyes burned from looking at the same presentation for the past 6 hours. The office was almost empty now, just the hum of the air conditioning and the occasional sound of the cleaning crew down the hall. She rubbed her temples and let out a long sigh. This was the third week in a row she'd stayed past 9. Her manager kept piling on more work, more deadlines, more last-minute changes. And for what? A salary that barely covered her rent in the city, and a pat on the back that felt more like a dismissal. Maya pulled out her phone and opened her messages. She needed to vent to someone, and her best friend Lily was always good for that. Her fingers flew across the screen as she typed out her frustration. I swear I'm losing my mind here, still at the office and probably will be for another hour. I don't even know why I try so hard anymore. Bennett Tech Solutions sounds like a great company from the outside. But nobody sees how much we actually struggle down here in the trenches, she kept typing, her frustration pouring out with each word. And you know what's funny? Our CEO is throwing this massive charity gala next week. Probably spent more on the flowers alone than my annual salary. I've never even seen the guy in person. He's always in some other building or traveling to conferences. James Bennett. I'm sure he's just another rich guy who inherited Daddy's company and has no clue what real work actually looks like. He'll show up at the gala with his perfect fiancée, take some photos for social media, and pat himself on the back for being so charitable. Meanwhile, we're here drowning in work. Maya hit send and tossed her phone on the desk. She immediately felt a little better. Sometimes you just need to complain to someone who gets it. Her phone buzzed a minute later. That was quick. Lily must be having a slow night too, but when Maya picked up her phone, her stomach dropped. The message wasn't from Lily. Wrong number, I think, but for what it's worth, he probably does work hard. Maya's hands started shaking. She looked at the number at the top of the screen. That wasn't Lily's number. That wasn't Lily's number at all. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. Earlier that day, she'd been updating the emergency contact list for her department. She'd copied several numbers into her phone, including some executive contacts. She must have accidentally selected the wrong number when she went to text Lily. But whose number was this? Her heart was pounding now. She scrolled back through her messages, rereading what she'd sent. Every word felt worse the second time around. She'd called someone out of touch. She'd mocked the charity gala. She'd assumed the worst about someone she'd never met. Maya's first instinct was to pretend it never happened. Maybe just ignore it and hope whoever received it would forget about it. But that felt wrong. And cowardly, she took a deep breath and typed out a response. I am so sorry. That message wasn't meant for you. I was venting to a friend after a really long day, and I accidentally sent it to the wrong number. I know that's no excuse for being unprofessional and making assumptions about people I don't know. I'm really embarrassed. She hit send before she could overthink it. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Whoever this was, they were typing back. No need to apologize for being honest. Sounds like you're having a rough time. For what it's worth, I hope your boss appreciates how hard you work. Maya stared at the message. That was unexpected. Most people would have been angry or at least cold, but this person seemed almost kind about it. Thank you for being understanding. I really didn't mean for anyone to see that, especially not a random stranger who probably thinks I'm a terrible person now. The response came quickly again. I don't think you're terrible. I think you're tired and frustrated. We all have those days or weeks. What keeps you there if it's this stressful? Maya wasn't sure why she kept responding. Maybe because it was easier to be honest with a stranger. Or maybe because this person seemed genuinely interested. There was something freeing about talking to someone who had no expectations of her. No history with her. No judgment waiting in the wings. I guess I keep hoping it'll get better. And I need the job. But sometimes I wonder if I'm just stuck, you know? I had all these dreams when I graduated college. I wanted to do creative work, build something meaningful. Now I'm just making presentations and attending meetings about meetings. The response took a bit longer this time. I understand that feeling more than you might think. The gap between what you imagined your life would be and what it actually is. That's a hard place to sit with. Something about those words felt heavy, like they carried real weight behind them. This wasn't just someone offering empty sympathy. They really did seem to understand. Do you feel stuck too? Maya typed, then hesitated before sending. Was that too personal? But she'd already spilled her guts to this person. What was one more question? Sometimes, I have responsibilities, people counting on me. But there are days when I wonder who I'm really doing this for. Maya felt a strange connection forming. Here was someone else going through their own version of what she was feeling. Different circumstances maybe, but the same underlying question. Am I living my life or just going through the motions? They texted back and forth for another 20 minutes. The stranger asked about her dreams, what kind of creative work she wanted to do. Maya found herself opening up in a way she hadn't in months. She talked about wanting to start her own marketing agency someday, something small and focused on helping local businesses tell their stories. The stranger shared too, though in vaguer terms. They talked about feeling trapped by expectations, about the weight of responsibility, about wondering if the life you're living is really yours or just what everyone else wants for you. Finally, Maya glanced at the clock. It was almost 11. I should probably go home and get some sleep. Thank you for being so nice about my terrible first impression. You didn't have to respond at all, let alone be kind about it. Get some rest. And for what it's worth, I hope tomorrow is better than today. Maya smiled for the first time all evening. She saved the number in her phone under wrong number guy and gathered her things. As she walked to her car in the empty parking garage, she couldn't help but wonder who she'd been talking to. Someone who worked late too, clearly. Someone who seemed to understand the kind of pressure she was feeling. What she didn't know was that across the city, in a private dining room at one of the most expensive restaurants downtown, James Bennett was sitting at a table surrounded by family. His parents, his fiancée Victoria's parents, Victoria herself and her two sisters. They were finalizing details for the wedding that was now less than a month away. Victoria was showing everyone photos of the venue on her tablet, talking about flowers and seating arrangements and the perfect song for their first dance. Everyone was smiling and nodding, caught up in the excitement. But James was distracted, his phone hidden under the table, reading and rereading the conversation he'd just had with a woman whose name he didn't know, a woman who'd accidentally sent him a message calling him out of touch and clueless. He should have been offended. He should have been angry. Instead, he felt more awake than he had in months. James, are you even listening? Victoria's voice cut through his thoughts. He looked up, slipping his phone into his pocket. Sorry, work email. You were saying? Victoria rolled her eyes affectionately. Always working. I was saying we need to confirm the final guest count by Friday. James nodded and tried to focus on the conversation around him, but his mind kept drifting back to that text, to the honesty in it, to the feeling that for the first time in a long time, someone had told him the truth instead of what they thought he wanted to hear. He didn't know it yet, but that accidental message was about to change everything. Maya couldn't sleep that night. She kept replaying the conversation in her head, cringing at her own words. She'd insulted her CEO to his face, basically. Well, not to his face, but to someone's face. And that someone had been incredibly kind about it when they had every right to be angry. At 2 a.m, she picked up her phone again. The smart thing would be to just let it go. But Maya had never been great at letting things go. I know it's late and you're probably asleep, but I just wanted to say again how sorry I am. Not just for the wrong number thing, but for being so harsh and judgmental. I was having a bad day, but that's not an excuse for talking about people that way. I don't even know James Bennett. He could be a great person for all I know. Anyway, I hope I didn't ruin your evening. Good night. She put the phone face down on her nightstand and closed her eyes, determined to actually sleep this time. The phone buzzed 5 minutes later. Can't sleep either. And stop apologizing. Your message was actually the most honest thing anyone said to me all evening. Sometimes we need someone to tell us the truth even if it's not pretty. Maya smiled in the darkness of her room. She picked up the phone. So you're saying I did you a favor by accidentally insulting your CEO? Maybe. Or maybe you just reminded me that there are real people behind every company doing real work, dealing with real problems. It's easy to forget that from certain positions. What do you do? If you don't mind me asking. There was a longer pause this time. I work in management. You? Marketing coordinator, which is a fancy way of saying I make PowerPoints and try to make boring products sound exciting. Is that what you want to do? Or is that just what you ended up doing? The question hit differently at 2 a.m. Maya found herself being more honest than she'd planned. I wanted to tell stories, help small businesses, local shops, people with real passion for what they do. I wanted to make them visible. But those jobs don't pay the bills, so here I am, making presentations about software solutions. Why don't you do it anyway? On the side. Time, money, fear. The usual reasons. What about you? Are you doing what you want to do? Another long pause. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Not sure if that's the same thing. They texted back and forth until almost 4 in the morning, about dreams and responsibilities, about the difference between success and happiness, about whether you can have both or if you always have to choose. When Maya finally fell asleep, it was with a strange feeling of connection to someone whose name she didn't even know. The next morning, she dragged herself to work on 3 hours of sleep, but somehow she didn't feel as tired as she should have. There was a lightness she couldn't quite explain. Her coworker, Rachel, noticed immediately. "You look terrible, but you're smiling. What's going on?" "Nothing. Just didn't sleep well." "Uh-huh. That's the smile of someone who was up late texting a guy." Maya felt her cheeks warm. "It's not like that. I don't even know him." "Oh, this is getting better. Tell me everything." Maya explained the wrong number situation, leaving out the part about insulting the CEO. Rachel listened with growing amusement. "So let me get this straight. You accidentally texted a random person, had a deep conversation until 4 in the morning, and now you're what? Text buddies? I don't know what we are. It was just one conversation." But it wasn't just one conversation. That evening, as Maya was leaving work, her phone buzzed. "How was your day?" "Better than yesterday, I hope," she grinned and typed back. "A little better. Mostly because I didn't accidentally insult anyone today." The day's not over yet. True. There's still time. It became a pattern. They'd text throughout the day. Never anything too long or distracting, just small check-ins. "How are you? What are you working on? Did you have lunch, or are you being one of those people who works through meals?" They never exchanged names. It felt deliberate now, like sharing names would somehow break the spell. He was J in her phone. She signed her messages with M. It was enough. A week passed, then 2. Maya found herself looking forward to those messages more than she wanted to admit. Jay was funny in a dry, understated way. He asked good questions. He actually listened to her answers, and slowly, he started opening up too. He told her about growing up with parents who had specific ideas about what success looked like, about trying to be the person everyone expected while losing track of who he actually was, about a relationship that looked perfect on paper but felt hollow in practice. "I'm getting married soon," he texted one night. 4 weeks from now. Maya's stomach did a weird flip. She told herself it was just surprise, nothing else. "Congratulations," she typed, then deleted it. That felt too formal, too fake. "Are you happy?" she sent instead. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before his response came through. "I don't know. Isn't that a terrible thing to say 4 weeks before your wedding?" "It's honest. That's not terrible. My fiancée is great. She's smart, successful, beautiful. Everyone says we're perfect together. Our families have been friends forever. It makes sense on every level, but I can't remember the last time I felt like I could really talk to her. Not about the surface stuff, the wedding planning and social events and business connections, but really talk, the way I can talk to you." Maya sat on her couch staring at those words. This was dangerous territory. He was engaged. She was just a random person on the other end of a phone. This shouldn't mean anything, but it did mean something. She knew it did. "Maybe you should try," she typed carefully. "Talking to her, I mean. Really talking. Before the wedding. Maybe. But what if I do and I realize we don't have what I thought we had? What if you don't and you spend the rest of your life wondering?" He didn't respond right away. Maya worried she'd overstepped. But half an hour later, her phone buzzed. "You're right. Thank you for being honest. You're good at that." The next Monday, there was a company-wide meeting. Maya had heard about it last week. Something about new initiatives and vision for the quarter. She usually tried to sit in the back during these things, just blend in and zone out while executives talked about synergy and moving forward. But this time, her manager made their whole team sit near the front. "Bennett himself is presenting," her manager whispered. "We need to look engaged." Maya settled into her seat, phone in her bag, half listening as various department heads gave updates. Then someone new walked onto the small stage they'd set up in the conference room. "Good morning, everyone. For those of you I haven't met yet, I'm James Bennett." Maya looked up. The man on stage was younger than she expected, maybe mid-30s, wearing a suit but no tie, looking slightly uncomfortable with all the attention. He had dark hair, tired eyes, and when he smiled at someone's question, it was genuine. He talked about the company's direction, about wanting to hear from employees at all levels, about making sure success was measured not just in profits but in the well-being of the people doing the work. It sounded like typical CEO talk, but something in the way he said it felt different, more real. Maya found herself actually listening. After the meeting, people crowded around trying to get FaceTime with the boss. Maya hung back ready to leave. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Survived another corporate meeting. How about you? She smiled and typed back as she walked toward the exit. Same, CEO gave a speech. It was actually not terrible. High praise. I'm serious. He seemed almost human. Almost. Well, I didn't get to actually talk to him. Hard to tell from a distance. She hit send and looked up just in time to avoid walking into someone. Sorry, she said automatically, then froze. James Bennett was standing right in front of her, phone in his hand, looking down at the screen. Then slowly he looked up at her. Their eyes met. Maya watched as understanding dawned on his face. The same understanding that was currently making her heart pound against her ribs. Jay wasn't just some random person she'd been texting. Jay was James Bennett, her CEO, the man she'd insulted in that very first message. The man who was getting married in less than a month. The man she'd been falling for without even realizing it. Hi, he said quietly, his voice the same one she'd heard moments ago on stage, but softer now, more uncertain. Maya opened her mouth, but no words came out. Around them, the conference room was emptying, people filing out, completely unaware that her entire world had just tilted on its axis. James glanced around, then back at her. We should probably talk, but not here. All Maya could do was nod. Maya sat in the small coffee shop 2 blocks from the office, her hands wrapped around a cup she hadn't touched. James sat across from her, looking just as uncomfortable as she felt. They'd left the building separately, him first, then her 5 minutes later. Meeting here felt safer somehow, less likely to start rumors that would spread through the office like wildfire. So, James said finally, this is awkward. Maya let out a breath that was almost a laugh. That's one word for it. How long have you known? He asked. About 30 seconds before you did, when I looked up and saw you on your phone and then you looked at me and... She shook her head. I feel like an idiot for not putting it together sooner. Why would you? I never told you my full name. You never told me yours, Maya. My name is Maya Chen. I know. I know now. I looked you up in the company directory after the meeting. He ran a hand through his hair. That sounds creepy. I just needed to be sure, and it's not creepy. I would have done the same thing. Maya finally took a sip of her coffee. It had gone lukewarm. So what do we do now? James leaned back in his chair. I don't know. I've been asking myself that same question for the last 20 minutes. We should probably stop texting, Maya said, even though the words felt wrong coming out of her mouth. Probably. You're getting married in a few weeks. 3 weeks and 4 days. The specificity of that answer hung between them. Maya studied his face. He looked tired. More tired than someone should look when talking about their upcoming wedding. Are you okay? She asked. James smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You know what's funny? You're the only person who's asked me that in months. Everyone else just assumes I'm fine, excited, ready, all the things a groom is supposed to be. But you're not? He was quiet for a long moment. Victoria and I have known each other since we were kids. Our parents are business partners. We went to the same schools, moved in the same circles. When we started dating 5 years ago, everyone said it made perfect sense. And it did. It does. That's not an answer. I know. James looked down at his coffee. The thing is, she's a good person. She's brilliant at what she does. She's beautiful and charming, and everyone loves her. There's no good reason not to marry her. Except when I talk to her, I feel like I'm reading from a script. We talk about wedding plans and social events and which charities to support. We never talk about real things. Our fears, our doubts, what keeps us up at night. He looked up at Maya. Not like we do. Did. Whatever this is. Maya's heart was beating too fast. James, you can't compare your relationship with your fiancé to random text messages with a stranger. Why not? At least with you, I feel like I can be myself. No expectations. No performance. Just honest conversation. But that's not real life, Maya said, even though part of her wanted to argue the opposite. That's easy because there are no stakes. We don't have history. We don't have families watching us. We don't have a future to worry about. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I've been so focused on what makes sense, what looks right, what everyone expects, that I forgot to check if it's what I actually want. Maya didn't know what to say to that. This was dangerous ground. She could feel it. Whatever this connection was between them, it was real. And that made it complicated. "You need to talk to Victoria," she said finally. "Really talk to her. The way you've talked to me. What if I do and I realize we don't have that? What if we never did? Then at least you'll know before you stand at an altar and promise forever." James nodded slowly. "You're right. I know you're right. It's just scary, terrifying." They sat in silence for a while. The coffee shop was filling up with the afternoon rush. People ordering lattes and settling in with laptops. Normal people having normal days. Maya envied them. "We should get back," she said eventually. "We've been gone too long." "Maya, wait." James reached across the table, then stopped himself, his hand hovering in the space between them. He pulled it back. "Whatever happens, I want you to know that these past couple weeks talking to you, it meant something to me. It changed something. I don't know what yet, but it did." "It meant something to me too," Maya admitted. They walked back to the office separately again. Maya took the long route, needing more time to clear her head. When she finally got back to her desk, Rachel pounced immediately. "Where have you been? You missed the afternoon meeting." "I needed air." "It's fine." "What did I miss?" Rachel gave her a suspicious look but let it go. "Just departmental stuff. But hey, did you see Bennett at the meeting this morning? He's younger than I expected. And actually pretty good looking if you're into the whole brooding executive type." Maya kept her eyes on her computer screen. "I didn't really notice." Liar, every woman in that room noticed. "Apparently he's getting married soon though, to Victoria Ashford. You know, the Victoria Ashford, the one who's always in those society magazines?" "Good for him," Maya said, trying to sound casual. "You okay?" "You're being weird." "I'm fine. Just tired. Didn't sleep well last night." That night, Maya's phone stayed silent. No messages from Jay, no late-night conversations. She told herself it was better this way, cleaner. They both knew who the other was now. There was no going back to that easy anonymity, but she missed it. Missed him, which was ridiculous because how could you miss someone you barely knew? 3 days passed. Maya threw herself into work, staying late, taking on extra projects. Anything to keep her mind occupied. She saw James once in the hallway, surrounded by other executives. Their eyes met for just a second before he looked away. It felt like a door closing. On the 4th day, her phone buzzed during lunch. Unknown number. "I tried to talk to Victoria." "Really talk?" "We went to dinner, just the two of us." I asked her if she was happy. If this was what she really wanted. Maya stared at the message. She should ignore it, delete it, but her fingers were already typing. What did she say? She said of course she was happy. That everything was perfect. That we were perfect. Then she showed me the final guest list and asked if I thought we should seat my aunt near the band or farther back. James. I tried again. I asked her what she was afraid of. What kept her up at night. What she dreamed about when she let herself really dream. And she laughed and said I was being philosophical. Then she changed the subject to the honeymoon itinerary. Maya closed her eyes. She could picture it perfectly. The two of them at some expensive restaurant talking past each other. Neither one brave enough to break the pattern. Maybe she's scared too. Maybe she doesn't know how to have that conversation either. Maybe. Or maybe we've been pretending for so long that neither of us remembers how to be real with each other. So what are you going to do? The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. I don't know. The wedding is 3 weeks away. The invitations are out. The deposits are paid. Both families are excited. Everyone's counting on this. Everyone except the 2 people actually getting married. That's not fair. Victoria wants this. She's been planning it for months. Does she want you? Or does she want the wedding? No response for several minutes. Then I need to think. This is all too much. Too fast. Take the time you need. But James? Don't marry someone just because it's easier than being honest. That night Maya's phone rang. Not a text. An actual call. She looked at the screen. Unknown number. The same one from earlier. Her hand shook as she answered. Hello? Maya. James's voice was rough, like he'd been arguing or maybe crying. I need to tell you something. Okay. I went to Victoria's apartment tonight. After our texts. I told her we needed to talk. Really talk. No distractions. No avoiding. Maya's heart was pounding. What happened? She found the texts. Our texts. She'd been suspicious about why I was on my phone so much. She looked while I was in the bathroom. Read everything. Oh God, she was furious, hurt. She asked who you were, what this meant. If I was in love with someone else, Maya couldn't breathe. What did you tell her? James was quiet for so long she thought the connection had dropped. I told her the truth, he said finally. That I didn't know who I was in love with anymore. But I knew I couldn't marry her while feeling this confused. James, what are you saying? The wedding's off. Victoria called it off. She said she deserved someone who was sure about her. She's right. She does. Maya sat down on her couch, her legs suddenly unable to hold her. I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. Don't apologize. This isn't your fault. It's mine. I should have been honest months ago. Years ago, maybe. You just gave me the push I needed to stop hiding from it. How are you feeling? Terrified, relieved, guilty, all of it at once. Where are you right now? Driving around. I can't go home yet. Can't face my parents. Can't face anyone. Do you want company? Silence then. Yes, more than anything. But I don't think that's a good idea. Not right now. This is too messy. He was right. Maya knew he was right, but it didn't stop her from wanting to say yes anyway. Okay, she said instead. But call me if you need to talk anytime. Thank you, Maya, for everything. After he hung up, Maya sat in the dark, her phone in her lap, trying to process what had just happened. She'd accidentally sent one text message 3 weeks ago, and now a wedding was canceled. The office felt different on Monday morning. Maya could sense it the moment she walked through the doors. People were whispering in clusters, their voices dropping when she passed. She kept her head down and walked straight to her desk. Rachel was already there, eyes wide with barely contained gossip. Have you heard? She whispered urgently. Maya set her bag down, trying to appear calm. Heard what? Bennett's wedding. It's off, canceled, the whole thing. Maya's stomach twisted even though she already knew. Hearing it spread through the office like this made it feel more real, more public. When did you hear that? It's all over the news. Well, the society pages anyway. Victoria Ashford released a statement yesterday. Very diplomatic. Said they realized they wanted different things. But everyone knows something big must have happened. You don't cancel a wedding 3 weeks out unless there's drama. Maybe they just realized they weren't right for each other, Maya said quietly. That's what I said. But Karen from accounting swears she heard it was another woman. Can you imagine? James Bennett having an affair? He always seemed so buttoned up. Maya felt sick. People shouldn't spread rumors. They don't know what really happened. Rachel gave her an odd look. You're being weird again. Are you okay? I'm fine. Just think people should mind their own business. But minding their own business wasn't what people did. Especially not when one of the city's most prominent couples had just dramatically split up weeks before their society wedding. Maya avoided the break room. Avoided anywhere people gathered. She buried herself in work, headphones on, trying to block out the constant buzz of speculation around her. She didn't see James all day. According to the rumor mill, he'd taken a few days off. Family emergency, the official line said. Everyone knew better. That evening, as Maya was packing up to leave, her phone buzzed. Can we talk? Not at the office. Not on the phone. In person? It was from James's number. The one she now had saved in her contacts. She shouldn't. She knew she shouldn't. This was already complicated enough. But her fingers typed where? Before her brain could stop them. There's a park near the waterfront. The one with the old carousel. Do you know it? I'll find it. When? Now? I'm already here. Maya grabbed her coat. The park was nearly empty when she arrived. The sun was setting, painting everything in shades of orange and pink. She found James sitting on a bench near the water, hands in his pockets, staring out at nothing. He looked exhausted. His usual put-together appearance was gone. No suit jacket, sleeves rolled up. Hair messy like he'd been running his hands through it all day. Hi, Maya said softly. He looked up and something in his expression softened. You came. Of course I came. She sat down next to him, leaving a careful distance between them. How are you holding up? James let out a laugh that had no humor in it. My parents aren't speaking to me. Victoria's family is threatening legal action over the deposits. Half the city thinks I'm a cheater. My board of directors wants to meet to discuss whether this affects the company's image. So, Living the dream. I'm sorry. Stop saying that. This isn't your fault, isn't it though? Maya turned to face him. If I hadn't sent that first text, if we hadn't kept talking, then I'd be 3 weeks away from marrying someone I couldn't be honest with. Is that better? James shook his head. Maya, you didn't make me question my relationship. Those doubts were already there. You just made me brave enough to face them. Victoria didn't deserve this. No, she didn't. But she also didn't deserve to marry someone who wasn't all in. I talked to her again yesterday. Really talked this time. She admitted she'd had doubts too. She was just better at ignoring them than I was. Maya hadn't expected that. Really? She said she loved the idea of us more than she loved us. The power couple. The perfect match. 2 families coming together. But when she thought about the actual marriage, the day-to-day life, she felt nothing. We both just kept going because stopping felt harder than continuing. That's sad. It is. But it's also honest. Finally, James turned to look at her. She asked about you, wanted to know if I was leaving her for someone else. Maya's heart jumped. What did you tell her? I told her no. Because it's true. I'm not leaving her for you. I left because I needed to figure out who I am when I'm not trying to be what everyone expects. It was the right answer. The honest answer. So why did it sting a little? Besides, James continued, you work for me. Getting involved with you right now would be the worst possible decision for both of us. Right. Of course. Maya looked down at her hands. The board is already looking for reasons to doubt my judgment. If they found out about you, about our connection, they'd say it clouded my decision-making. That I blew up my personal life over some inappropriate relationship with an employee. Is that what they'd call it? Inappropriate? That's the nice version. I can think of several other words they'd use. James ran a hand through his hair again. And it wouldn't just hurt me. It would hurt you too. The rumors, the assumptions, people would say you were a homewrecker, that you manipulated your way into my life for personal gain. Maya knew he was right. She'd already heard whispers about an affair. If her name got attached to that story, it would destroy her career. Her reputation, everything, so what do? She asked. We stay away from each other, at least for a while. Let things settle. Let people move on to the next scandal. How long is a while? James looked at her and the sadness in his eyes matched what she was feeling. I don't know. Months probably, maybe longer. That's not fair. No, it's not. But it's reality. They sat in silence as the sun finished setting. The park lights flickered on, casting long shadows across the ground. I should go, Maya said finally. Someone might see us here. I know. But James didn't move. Neither did Maya. Can I ask you something? James said. And I want you to be completely honest. Okay, if things were different, if I wasn't your boss, if this whole situation wasn't so messy, would you want to see where this could go? Maya's breath caught. She should say no. She should protect herself. But she'd promised to be honest. Yes, she whispered. I would. James closed his eyes. That's what I was afraid you'd say. Why afraid? Because it makes this so much harder. He stood up then, putting physical distance between them. Maya stood too, her chest tight. I need to take some time away, James said. From the company. From the city. From everything. Clear my head. Figure out who I am outside of all these expectations. That's probably smart. The board suggested it. Strongly. They think a leave of absence would be good for the company image. Let the gossip die down. When do you leave? End of the week, 4 days. Maya felt panic rising in her chest. How long will you be gone? A month? Maybe 2. I have some family property upstate, quiet, private, a place to think. Will you? Maya stopped herself. Will I what? Will you text me? While you're gone? James looked at her for a long moment. I don't think I should. It felt like a door slamming shut. Right, of course. Maya. He stepped closer, then stopped himself. This isn't goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now. I need to figure out my life. You need to focus on yours. And we both need distance from this situation. I understand. Do you? Because I'm not sure I do. James's voice cracked slightly. All I know is that talking to you is the best part of my day. And that's exactly why I need to stop. Maya felt tears threatening but refused to let them fall. You're right. This is the smart thing. I hate the smart thing. Me too. They stood there, Two people who wanted to move closer but knowing they couldn't, knowing they shouldn't. "Take care of yourself," James said finally. "You too." He walked away first. Maya watched until he disappeared into the darkness beyond the park lights. Then she sat back down on the bench and let herself cry. The next morning, Maya wrote her resignation letter. She wrote it 3 times, actually, each version trying to explain without explaining. Finally, she settled on something simple and professional. She was pursuing other opportunities. It had been a pleasure working for Bennett Tech. 2 weeks' notice, she printed it out and put it in an envelope. Then she walked to HR and handed it to them before she could change her mind. Rachel found her at her desk an hour later, eyes red from crying. "What did you do?" Rachel demanded. "I quit. Why? What happened?" "I just need a change. Fresh start. This is about Bennett, isn't it? About the wedding?" Maya looked up sharply. "What?" "Everyone's talking about how you and him have been acting weird. Disappearing at the same time. Those long lunches. Maya, please tell me you didn't." "I didn't do anything wrong," Maya said firmly. "But I can't work here anymore. That's all you need to know." She spent her last 2 weeks training her replacement and tying up loose ends. She saw James only once on her final day, as she was carrying a box of her belongings to her car. He was standing by his car in the parking garage. Their eyes met across the distance. He lifted his hand in a small wave. She nodded back. Then she got in her car and drove away from Bennett Tech Solutions for the last time, not knowing if she'd made the right choice or the biggest mistake of her life. 6 months later, Maya stood in front of a small storefront in the Arts District, holding a set of keys in her trembling hand. The sign above the door read Chen Creative Studio in simple, elegant letters. It wasn't much, just 2 rooms and a tiny kitchen area, but it was hers. After leaving Bennett Tech, Maya had spent weeks wallowing, sending out resumes, questioning every decision she'd ever made. Then one night, scrolling through job listings that all felt wrong, she remembered what she'd told James in one of their first conversations, about wanting to help small businesses tell their stories. So she'd stopped looking for jobs and started building one instead. She used her savings to take some online courses, built a portfolio of sample work, reached out to every small business owner she knew. Her first client was the bakery down the street from her apartment. They paid her almost nothing, but she didn't care. She was doing work that mattered to her. Word spread slowly. A coffee shop. A bookstore. A family restaurant. People who cared about what they did and needed someone to help them share that with the world. It wasn't glamorous. She worked 70-hour weeks and barely made rent some months. But she was happy. Really happy. For the first time in years, Rachel visited often, bringing coffee and gossip from the old office. "You look good," Rachel said one afternoon, settling into the second-hand chair Maya had found at a thrift store. "Tired, but good. Like you're actually living instead of just surviving." "That's exactly what it feels like," Maya admitted. "Have you heard from him?" Maya didn't need to ask who. "No, and I don't expect to. He came back to the office last month. Looks different. More relaxed, maybe. Or just less stressed. Hard to tell." Maya's heart jumped despite herself. "That's good. I hope he's doing well." "He asked about you." Very casually. Very boss-like. "Just wondering how your transition went." "What did you tell him?" "That you started your own thing and you're crushing it." "Which is true." Rachel grinned. He looked proud. "And maybe a little sad." Maya changed the subject after that. There was no point dwelling on what couldn't be. 2 months later, Maya was working late, putting together a presentation for a potential client. A local nonprofit that worked with kids in underserved neighborhoods. It was exactly the kind of work she'd dreamed about doing. Someone knocked on the front door. She looked up, confused. It was almost 8 at night. The street outside was dark. Through the glass door, she saw a familiar silhouette. Her heart stopped. Maya walked to the door slowly, like she was in a dream. She unlocked it and pulled it open. James stood there, hands in his pockets, looking nervous. "Hi," he said. "Hi." Maya couldn't seem to form any other words. "I hope this isn't weird. Me showing up like this. How did you find me?" Rachel may have mentioned the address. "And your website is pretty easy to find if you're looking for it." He smiled slightly. "Which I was. Do you want to come in?" James stepped inside, looking around at the small space. The second-hand furniture. The wall covered in sticky notes and sketches. The coffee mugs that Maya forgot to wash most days. "This is great," he said, and he sounded like he meant it. "Really great. It's so... you. It's small. It's authentic. That's better." Maya crossed her arms, protecting herself from hope. "What are you doing here, James?" He turned to face her fully. "I needed to see you. To tell you some things, and to ask you something." "Okay. First, I'm sorry. For how everything happened. For putting you in an impossible position. For not being braver sooner. You don't need to apologize, I do though. You quit your job because of me. Because of a situation I created. I quit my job because I was unhappy there. You just helped me realize it." Maya gestured around the studio. "And look where I ended up. This is better. So much better." James nodded slowly. "You seem happy." "Really happy, I am. What about you?" "I'm getting there. The time away helped. I did a lot of thinking. Went to therapy. Had some hard conversations with my parents. With Victoria, actually. We had coffee a few weeks ago. How did that go?" "Better than expected. She's engaged to someone else. Met him 2 months after we split. She says she's never been happier." "That's good." "It is. She thanked me, actually, for being honest. She said if we'd gone through with the wedding, they'd both be miserable now, and she never would have met someone who actually gets her." Maya felt a weight she didn't know she was carrying lift slightly. "So everyone's okay?" "More or less. The company's doing well. I made some changes. More transparency, better work-life balance policies. Actually listening to people instead of just talking at them." He smiled. "Turns out an accidental text from a frustrated employee was the wake-up call I needed. I'm glad something good came from all that chaos. A lot of good came from it. For me, anyway." James took a breath. "Which brings me to what I wanted to ask you." Maya's pulse quickened. "What?" "I know it's been 8 months since we last spoke, and I know we said we needed distance. But Maya, I haven't stopped thinking about you. Not for a single day." "James, let me finish, please." He stepped closer. "I've spent 8 months trying to figure out who I am outside of everyone's expectations. And you know what I realized? I'm someone who wants to talk to you every day. Someone who wants to know how your presentations went and what annoying client you're dealing with and whether you remembered to eat lunch." Maya felt tears building, but didn't let them fall. "You can't just show up here after 8 months and say things like that." "Why not?" "Because I spent 8 months convincing myself to move on. Telling myself that what we had wasn't real. That it was just texting and a few conversations and timing that was all wrong." "Was it?" James asked quietly. "Not real?" "No," Maya whispered. "It was the most real thing I'd felt in years. That's what made it so hard. It doesn't have to be hard anymore. I'm not your boss. You don't work for me. There's no scandal. No complications. Just two people who want to know each other better. It's not that simple." "Why not? What's stopping us?" Maya looked at him at the hope in his eyes and felt her walls crumbling. "I'm scared. What if we try this and it doesn't work? What if the connection we had through text doesn't translate to real life? Then we figure it out, together." James reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he took her hand. "Maya, I'm not asking for forever right now. I'm just asking for a chance, coffee, dinner, an actual conversation where we both know each other's full names." Maya laughed despite herself. "That would be a nice change. Is that a yes?" She looked down at their joined hands. 8 months ago, this would have been impossible, forbidden, wrong on so many levels. But now, one condition, Maya said. "Anything. No more texting as our primary communication. If we're going to do this, we do it in person. Face to face. Messy and real and complicated." James grinned. "Deal, although I'm keeping your number. Just in case I need to accidentally text you something important. That's how this whole mess started. Best accident of my life." They stood there, hands still linked. Both smiling like idiots. "So," James said, "are you free for dinner? Or are you one of those workaholic types who stays at the office until midnight?" Says the guy who texted me at 2 in the morning. That was the old me. New me has boundaries. And a therapist who would be very proud of me right now. Maya grabbed her jacket from the back of her chair. "Dinner sounds good, but I'm paying. I'm a successful business owner now. I can afford my own meal. I wouldn't dream of arguing with a successful business owner." They walked out of the studio together. Maya locked the door behind them and they headed down the street. No destination in mind, just walking and talking. About the last 8 months. About their hopes for the next 8. About everything and nothing. A year later, Maya stood in almost the exact same spot, but everything was different. Her studio had expanded into the space next door. She'd hired 2 employees. She was working with a dozen clients and had a waiting list, and James was there, helping her hang a new sign. Chen Creative Studio, telling stories that matter. A little higher on your side, Maya called out. Like this? Perfect, they'd taken it slow. Real dates. Meeting each other's friends. Dealing with the occasional weird look from people who'd heard about the scandal. But mostly people had moved on. Found new gossip to obsess over. What mattered was that they'd built something real, not based on the fantasy of late-night texts or the drama of forbidden attraction, but on actual compatibility, shared values, genuine friendship that grew into something deeper. Rachel visited the new studio on opening day, bringing champagne. You know what's crazy? She said, looking around at the success Maya had built. If you hadn't sent that wrong text, none of this would have happened. Maya looked at James, who was across the room talking to one of her clients about their nonprofit work. He caught her eye and smiled. Best wrong number I ever sent, Maya said. Are you two ever going to admit publicly that you're the reason his wedding was canceled? Oh, let people think what they want. We know the truth. And the truth was this. Sometimes the worst mistakes lead to the best outcomes. Sometimes chaos clears the path for something better. And sometimes an accidental text message sent to the wrong person turns out to be sent to exactly the right one. James walked over, slipping his arm around Maya's waist. What are you two plotting? Nothing, Maya said innocently. Just talking about fate and wrong numbers and happy accidents. Ah, my favorite topic. He kissed the top of her head. You know what? I think I'm going to text you later. We're standing right next to each other. I know, but I want to tell you something, and I think the tradition of us being idiots with our phones should continue. Maya laughed. You're ridiculous. You love it. She did. She really did. Later that night, her phone buzzed. She opened it to find a message from James, even though he was sitting right next to her on her couch. Thank you for accidentally texting me 8 months ago. Best wrong number ever. Also, I love you. Maya looked over at him. He was grinning, phone in hand. She typed back, wrong number. But for what it's worth, I love you too. Some accidents are meant to happen,